Caroline, nice to see you again.
Yeah.
We're just going to review your performance planner and your developmental plan for the end of the year and talk a little bit about 2012 as well. So one of the areas that you identified in terms of your performance planner was the coalition, the Bike Safety Coalition, and the meeting 8 times. And more specifically, you had some issues, I know, and we talked about those in about October. And so I'm wanting to hear what were the outcomes of the coalition.
Great. Well, I thought I'd start by talking about the performance objective, first of all, and some of the concrete outcomes that I've been pleased to be a part of developing, and then maybe talk a little bit about my own sort of professional development in that regard. So the great news is that the committee, in spite of a small hiccup over the summer, which we discussed at our midterm get-together, did in fact meet 8 times. And over the course of those 8 meetings, we developed, at the end of the day, a 3-year strategic plan for the coalition to move forward. There are a number of areas of bike safety community development work that we've pinpointed for the next year in particular, in the first year of that strategic planning. So I have actually got that file prepared for you electronically, and I will send it to you later this week. I just have to do a couple of fine-tuning pieces to brief you on it in written format, and so you'll have it in your mailbox by the end of this week. In terms of the chairing and my performance as the chair, I think that I have had a great opportunity over the last 9 months to really practice some of the skills and new knowledge that I have been trying to develop over the recent months, and the communication concern that we discussed, I think, has been ironed out, and I really appreciated your willingness to come and observe and provide me with some specific feedback in that regard.
Great. So that sounds like the areas that you identified and the indicators that you were planning to work on over the year have been accomplished, and it sounds like you've met your expectations around those performance indicators that you identified and the objective that you set. So that's great, and I'm really glad that it sounds like you've got a 3-year strategic plan. That's amazing.
Yeah,
and that's great.
Who knew?
Yeah, and I think I'm looking forward to reading it, and I think it sounds to me that this will be the impetus for looking at your 2012 performance objectives, but it sounds to me like that's just a really nice segue into looking at what you're going to do in 2012.
Yes.
But before we do that, I just want to hear about the learning plan around leadership, and I know that you have been taking the course at Ryerson.
Yes.
And you've been practicing a bit with our team, and so I just want to hear how you think that you've been doing, with regard to, developing your skills and your learning around leadership. And maybe you can comment, and maybe also comment about any areas that you see that you can continue on working.
Well, I think it was a great sort of 1-2 punch for me to be able to take the course in organizational behavior, so I get that knowledge base and sort of more of a content perspective on sort of the skills that I need to be developing. And so the course was very helpful in providing me with good information in an adult learning setting. It was very problem-based learning, so I found that really helpful. And then to translate that learning into sort of on-the-ground, real-time skills, I did find the sessions that we had in-house with the team, and you're giving me the opportunity to do some informal leadership and team meetings. I found those very helpful. And I'm really looking forward to perhaps an opportunity to continue doing some of that skill building, not only within our own team, but if there are other opportunities going forward for me to, move to the next level of skill development, I'd appreciate exploring that with you.
From my perspective, as your manager, you've really demonstrated to me that you have met your expectation, objectives and expectations that you set for yourself for this year.
Great.
So that's been great. I've really noticed as a public health nurse, your leadership has increased dramatically, especially in the last 6 months of this planning year. So I'm really glad that you have also seen that that has happened. And so I'm happy for you to actually want to continue working on that as you move forward in 2012. So as we did last year, what I'm going to ask you to do is to once again go away and be very specific about your performance objectives for 2012 and for your leadership, your learning plan and development plan for 2012 as well, just as we've talked about now. And then submit it to me so that I can review it. And then we'll once again have a meeting in early January to discuss it and to move forward for the next year. So
really like this tool, Maureen, because now what I have is a map of my, this year's performance and the areas that I've built my knowledge and skills around. And so I can use this tool as a reference as I think about my performance objectives and my learning objectives for next year. And we together think about areas of further competency development for me.
Great. Well, I'm glad that it's worked for you. You're going to be a bit of a champion for the other teams that are actually rolling it out in the health department and for your nurse colleagues. So I think that's really important. And as you can see by this whole process, it really is a mutual development. It's about what you've learned and what I can kind of offer as your manager in terms of helping you to develop some good performance objectives and to think about what you need to do in terms of your learning and development plan. So as we go forward, I think this sets a very nice ground, if you will, to build on over the next year. So again, we'll meet again in January, and I look forward to seeing what you've reflected on and what you put down for 2012. So thanks, Caroline.
Super. Thanks, Maureen.